And now, our feature program.
Welcome to the first Matt's Movie Nights on the brand new Matt to the Mattening, the first video actually produced for this channel. It's the show where I recommend movies and then we talk about them. And last time I did a Christmas triple feature. Started off the night with the lovely Silent Partner. You can see I kind of ran out of space for it. And I also ran out of ease. So you just get Silent Part on here. The other two movies, nice short titles. I can fit those on the marquee. Silent Partner, not so much. Say a 1978 film starring Ellie Gould, who plays a bank teller, and he catches on that this guy in a Santa costume is going to rob the bank. So he takes all of the cash out of the drawer and hides it in like a lunchbox he has. And then when the guy comes into the store to like rob him, because he fails the first two times. Like the first time he comes in to rob the place, and I don't know what happened. Like a cop comes in while he's there, and he's like, "I'm not gonna rob this place while there's a cop here." And then the second time, like a little kid comes up to him, he's like, "Santa, Santa! Oh, I want a pellet gun for Christmas." And it's like, okay, something suspicious about that Santa. So the third day he actually manages to go through with it. Like, yeah, I've got a gun. Give me all the money in the drawer. Well, there is no money in the drawer. There's just like a couple $100 in the drawer. Because Ellie Gould has hidden all of the cash inside of his lunchbox. He's been doing business out of his lunchbox all day. So, of course, he gives him what little cash there is in the register. And, then, like, is pressing, like, the silent alarm. So, like, security can come get the guy, and he runs off. And it's like, oh, no, he got away with $500,000, I think, is the amount he gets away with. Of course, they say that on the news, and then the criminal, the Christopher Plummer, sees that they've announced this huge sum, and he's like, I didn't get all that money. That's not how much I stole. So our dear friend, the bank teller, must have kept a little of it for himself. So then this starts like a big rivalry between Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer. Like Elliot Gould's like hiding the money so that Christopher Plummer can't get it. And Christopher Plummer's doing all this stuff to like try to fuck with him. I've presented this as a Christmas movie because a lot of the early parts of the movie take place at Christmas, but the events of the film, I think, take long enough that it's probably well past Christmas by the end of the movie. This probably ends sometime in like February or March. Although there's a possibility it loops all the way around to being set on two different Christmases. Because I'm pretty sure it's still Christmas time, like in the climax of the movie. And that just doesn't seem possible with the events set up in the film. And unless it's the next Christmas. This is a really fun movie. I really enjoy this. First off, I just think it's a good concept for, like, a guy who, like, knows there's about to be a bank robbery and kind of tricks the robbers into letting him keep a lot of the money. And it also definitely seems like a bit of petty revenge. He seems kind of upset with the bank near the beginning of the movie, especially, like, the guy in charge of the bank. The guy in charge of the bank's, like, cheating on his wife with this girl Elliot Gould likes, and then he starts cheating with a different girl, and Elliot Gould catches him with another girl, and it's like, And also he's, like, insisting early on that they're keeping too much money on the floor, but the bank manager's like, it's Christmas, we gotta have all this money, we need a lot of money for this time of year. So part of it seems like petty revenge, and I enjoyed that bit. And just, him being clever and sort of using this other guy robbing the bank as an excuse to, like, take all this money. And Christopher Plummer's really fun in the movie, too. Christopher Plummer. Really fun in the movie, too. He's really young in this movie. Like, I'm used to Christopher Plummer being old. And, like, even in, like, stuff he did before this, he seems younger than he does in stuff that came out before this. He seems really young in this movie, and he's a sharp dresser in this movie. He's got a fucking Gucci belt. Ellie Gould, also a great actor. I always enjoy seeing him and stuff. Probably best known for, like, The Long Goodbye. He was in the MASH movie. He plays Ross and Monica's dad on Friends. I was just on Thanksgiving. I was over at my parents' house, and they were watching all the Thanksgiving episodes, and Elliot Gould showed up as Ross and Monica's dad, and I'm like, huh, that's Elliot Gould. I totally buy him as David Schwimmer's dad. That's good casting. I never really bought David Schwimmer and Courtney Cox as brother and sister, but Elliot Gould and David Schwimmer, yeah, I see it. They could be related. I think it's weird. In this movie, they have this, like, recurring thing where people tell Elliot Gould that he's like, ooh, you're a handsome man. You could be an actor or something. And, like, I don't get it. I always thought, like, Elliot Gould was supposed to be this, like, kind of awkward, everyman type character. That's kind of his shtick. Even in this movie, like, he's supposed to be this really nerdy dude. He's into, like, collecting exotic fish. The joke is that he's, like, this boring character. And Elliot Gould, perfect for that role. But then there's all these comments about, like, ooh, you're so handsome, you could be an actor. And it's like, really? This dude? I mean, he could be an actor because he's a good actor. But I don't really think he's that handsome. Just recently, I saw him in Little Murders, which is probably the best movie I watched this year. That would be a tough call. I also watched I also watched All That Jazz. Those are my top 2 movies of the year. I also saw My Dinner with Andre. Those 3 movies I gave, like, a 10 out of 10 to, and I'm like, I don't see that many 10 out of 10 movies anymore. I've watched a lot of the really good ones, so the fact that I managed to get 3 10 out of 10s in a year is an accomplishment. And of those, I think my favorite might be Little Murders. Very difficult movie to get your hands on, but if you can watch it, I highly recommend it. It's on the Criterion channel last time I checked. May not be by the time you are watching this. John Candy's in it briefly. He's in, like, 2-3 scenes tops. He has a very small role, but fucking John Candy's in the movie. Like, a very early career John Candy. This would have been, like, pre-Uncle Buck or Spaceballs or... God, what else is he known for? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I guess. This is before all that. So... it's fun seeing him in this movie. He's got an interesting little role. Because, like, there's this hot new chick at the bank, and he marries the hot new chick at the bank. It's like, good for you, John Candy. Oh, you know what Elliot Gould is most known for? Marrying Barbara Streisand. Apparently this is just, like, the year of Silent Partner, because I've seen a couple, like, after I announced that I was gonna watch this and talk about it, I saw several people talking about this on Twitter, and not, like, people I know who would have heard about it from my video, just, like, people watching Silent Partner, people being like, hey, Silent Partner's this, like, interesting Christmas movie, and I'm like, thank you, I agree. Like, someone else gets it, someone else sees it too. This is the year of Silent Partner. Watch Silent Partner. I love that name, The Silent Partner, because it works on so many levels. Because, like, obviously silent partner is a bit of a financial term, something that happens in banking, so that it takes place at a bank is... It works for being said at a bank, but it's also like, Ellie Gould has taken this money from this bank robber, and, like, that makes him a silent partner in the crime. He wasn't supposed to have all that money, but he's the silent partner in the crime. Plus, it just sort of evokes Christmas, Silent Night, Silent Partner. It's a title that works on many levels. I love the title Silent Partner. So yeah, I guess that's enough of me gushing about this. It's a fun movie. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend it. Silent Partner. Check it out. After that, we watched Elves, which I think I got confused with Don't Open Till Christmas, but whatever. I enjoyed Elves well enough anyway. Like, we can save Don't Open Till Christmas for next year. Both wacky Christmas horror movies. I'm fine with doing the wrong one this year. So Elves is... God, fuck, how do I even describe this? So this girl summons an elf, one singular elf, who's really more of a goblin. I don't know why they call him an elf. But she summons this, like, magical elf, and as the story unfolds, the elf is, like, attacking and killing all the people in its way, and after finding out about this elf, her grandfather gets in contact with some of his old friends, and now they're on the hunt for this elf, and they're also going to kill anyone who gets in their way. So, spoilers, Grandpa was a Nazi, and there was this secret Nazi plot where elves were gonna impregnate someone, creating the Antichrist, who would start a new race of half-elf, half-humans, and they would be the master race. This movie is fucking buck wild. Like, it goes completely off the rails, man. Like even just describing it sounds like... It kind of makes sense in the movie, but it's also like, this is some insane bullshit. Like, even within the movie's internal logic, this is kinda out there. It is also yet another holiday movie I have featured that contains incest. So, Merry fucking Christmas, y'all. Although the last one was a Thanksgiving movie. So, happy Thanksgiving as well. Yeah, I don't know. Elves is a lot of fun. It's not good. It's a very dumb, very silly movie, but I had a lot of fun watching it. Dan Haggerty's in the movie as this, like... He was a detective, but he was an alcoholic, and he kind of got thrown off the force, but, now he's trying to get sober and get a steady job, and after the elf murders the mall Santa, Dan Haggerty takes over as the mall Santa, which is... really good casting. Dan Haggerty would be a good Santa. The title is a bit of a lie. There's only one elf in this movie, so the correct title for this movie should be Elf. Wouldn't that fucking be something? That's like Jack Frost situation there. Because there's the horror movie Jack Frost, and then there's the not a horror movie Jack Frost that is actually probably scarier than the horror movie Jack Frost. There's a funny detail in the film when the Nazis show up at the mall. They spend a lot of the movie in the mall. So the Nazis show up at this mall and start shooting at them. Dan Haggerty and the main girl jump behind a counter, and it just so happens to be the gun counter. And there's this funny little detail, and I'm not sure if it's a joke or just like inobservant set decoration, because it could really go either way with this movie. Like, it's a pretty tongue-in-cheek movie, so I wouldn't put it past them to do this as a joke, but it's also a pretty cheaply made movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was just a mistake. But after they dive behind the gun counter, there's a sign on top of the gun counter that says, "Great gifts for Mom." There we go. That's it. That's the angle I like. Because, like, later on, there's a joke where Dan Haggerty's trying to figure out what, like, a weird-looking occult symbol means. And so he goes to the library and he asks about books on the occult, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's section 666. Ha ha ha." Yes, this movie is fucking insane. This movie is just complete batshit insanity, which makes for a great Christmas movie. That is all I want out of Christmas horror. Like Silent Night, Deadly Night elevates it. Silent Night, Deadly Night is like an actually good, well-written movie. And ditto to stuff like Day of the Beast or Gremlins that just happen to be set at Christmas. But, like, if you want a Christmas horror movie, really mostly what I'm looking for is really silly, really cheesy stuff. And Elves does that so perfectly. I love this film so much. Actually, a tad hard to get a hold of. I mean, it's on YouTube. But, like, it never had, like, a DVD or a Blu-ray release. Only a VHS release. So the version on YouTube is a VHS rip. And it's like, man, this is... I think it's high time Elves made a comeback. It's high time for, like, a Blu-ray DVD release of this film. Fucking Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow Video, whoever, get on it. I need this on Blu-ray. IMDb lists this as being PG-13, and as I'm watching the movie, they swear so much in this movie. There's a lot of F-bombs, and then there's 2 nude scenes, and I'm like, no way this got a PG-13. So I looked it up. I went to the Wikipedia page for this, and on the Wikipedia page it said it received a PG-13 rating, citation needed. And I'm like, okay, I don't think this got a PG-13 rating. And I looked up a picture of the VHS. On the VHS cover, there's no rating. There is no MPAA rating listed for this movie. Now, I didn't, like, dig through the MPAA archives to see if they have, like, a registered rating for this movie, but from what I can tell, this movie was never rated by the MPAA. It is not a PG-13. Either that or, like, the theatrical release was PG-13, but for some reason they released, like, the uncut version to VHS without really advertising it as the uncut version. And that's just the version that's been around ever since. I mean, this is such like a slapdash production. I wouldn't be surprised if they released the uncut version to VHS by mistake. Like, they cut it down to like a PG-13 for theaters, and then the VHS, which actually came out quite a bit later than the theatrical release. It was like 2-3 years before this got a VHS release. And when they went in for the VHS release, they're like, here's a cut of the movie. Yeah, this is probably the same cut. Put it on the VHS. I don't know. Could be any number of things. There's not a lot of information about this movie. It seems largely forgotten, despite having, you know, a bit of a cult following. And rightfully so. It's a very funny movie. I really like this movie. I would like more information about this movie to come out. I would like a better release of this movie. Because right now, if you want to watch it, you just have to watch, like, the shitty version on YouTube. Another thing I want to mention that I thought was odd about the film is, like, the elf is supposed to be the villain, right? They've got this, like, weird, goblin-y elf puppet. And yet, every time he kills someone, he takes a knife and stabs them, or he, like, shoots at them with a gun. Like, he personally doesn't have anything to kill people. He doesn't have, like, claws. he has kind of sharp teeth, but he never bites anyone. He is always killing them with, like, conventional human weapons. And it's like, why does the villain in your horror, why does the monster, why does the creature in your creature feature need weapons? It's just a very silly, very funny movie. I highly recommend it. Complete batshit insanity. My highest recommendations. And speaking of both crime films and films where Germans invade a place people are staying around Christmas, we finished with Die Hard. I didn't realize this till after I had recommended it, but Die Hard is actually in violation of my no movies over 2 hours rule. But you know what? I will make an exception for Die Hard. You know, I said I was going to do the classics this year. You guys thought that just meant, like, Universal movies. Nah, man. We gotta throw Die Hard in there. Die Hard, in case you've been living under a rock since 1988, Die Hard is the story of John McClane, a New York cop who comes to LA to, like, visit his wife, but after he has gotten in the building is taken over by terrorists, but they don't know John's there, so John sort of hides out and starts causing trouble for the terrorists. He gets in contact with, like, the police outside the building and is sort of helping them through this situation. And it's one of the all-time great action movies. Like, you couldn't do much better than Die Hard. There are action movies I think I like more than Die Hard, but not many. It's definitely, probably top 10 for sure. And just so much goes into making this film that great. There's a lot of, like, good cinematic choices. Like, the way they film stuff is so good. There's a scene near the end where, like, John has come down to finally confront Hans Gruber, the villain. And first off, he's a complete mess. He's limping in the room. That's one thing that I think really makes this film stand out. So many action movies, the good guy, like, goes in and comes out completely clean. Not John McClane, man. John McClane gets dirty. He gets messy. You know, he starts the movie off in, like, a white tank top. By the end of the movie, it's just, like, gray and covered in dirt. He's covered in dirt. He's got so many injuries. He's just, like, limping into the room. And yet, as he's, like, kind of limping into this room, they've got, like, a wire behind him that's, like, broken and it's sparking. So he walks into this room, like, there's no lights in the room. The only thing, like, backlighting him is this, like, sparking wire. And it's just such a good shot. The cinematography in this movie is just, top notch. The dialogue is great. Like, John just has, like, so many, like, snappy one-liners, endlessly quotable. An endlessly quotable film. The greatest, of course, being the classic line, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers," which, I feel I'm a little disappointed that line's become so great, because in context, it's perfect fucking timing. Right? Like, Hans Gruber is, like, accusing him of thinking he's some sort of, like, crazy cowboy. He's like, you're probably some American raised on action movies who thinks he's John Wayne or Roy Rogers. And he's like, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And then he blows up a bunch of bad guys. Of course, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. Wonderful actor. Gotta love Alan Rickman. He's so perfect in this role. It is odd that he's supposed to be, like, a German villain when he does all these German villains, and all of them are played by British people. Meanwhile, the all-American good guy hero is played by someone who was actually born in Germany. Bruce Willis was born in Germany. He was born on an American, like, military base, but he was born in Germany. So The American good guy, German. The German bad guys, British. And the bad guys' plan in this movie, I just really like the bad guys in this movie, because you never get a clear idea on what their plan ultimately is. There's definitely some thing in this tower that they want, but they really keep their motivations secret. They're trying to rob the Nakatomi building and the Nakatomi Industries, the company. But it's also clear that they have, like, a vendetta against this company, right? Because this couldn't have been a cheap operation. They've got, like, first off, they've got, like, a shitload of cars. They've got rocket launchers and shit. It's just way overly prepared for this job. This would have cost so much money to initiate. And I'm sure they planned on walking away with a pretty big profit, but at the same time, it's so apparent that it's like, no, we are coming for you specifically. Like, it's not just the money, there is personal vendetta here. Fuck this company in specific. And you know what? There's parts of the movie where I start to side with them. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck Nakatomi Industries. And then they're like telling the police their demands are like, oh, release all these like freedom fighters who are in prison around the world. And, you know, the police are like, oh, there's no way we can do that. And Alan Rickman's just like, you have 2 hours, gentlemen, and hangs up on him. But then immediately afterwards, he's like, yeah, that ought to give us enough time to do what we need to do, because he did not care. It's very apparent that's not what the mission was. The mission was not get all these freedom fighters released. That's just like a red herring so that they can rob the Nakatomi building. Reginald VelJohnson, of course, is in the movie. Well known for playing a cop on Family Matters. Oh, wait, no, shit. Family Ties? No, Family Matters. Okay. This is confusing because I just recorded an episode about Cool as Ice, which stars the dad from Family Ties, and I keep getting Family Ties and Family Matters confused. He was on Family Matters. So the original VelJohnson plays a cop on Family Matters, also plays a cop in Die Hard. Also, I think has played a cop a few other places. I think he plays a cop in Ghostbusters? Am I wrong about that? Yeah, he plays a cop in Ghostbusters. So, the Family Matters Ghostbusters Die Hard universe. Here's the thing, he gives a really good performance in this movie, but it's almost too good. Like, it's good to the point that you know he's acting, because a real police officer under these circumstances would not be acting as well as he is. Like, a real police officer would probably be freaking out, losing his shit, and he's just like calm, cool, having fun conversations with John. It's a good performance. I like the character. He's really funny. He's really charismatic. But it's also like, this is totally unrealistic. I mean, Die Hard as a whole is just completely fucking unrealistic. I think that's okay. I think that's... Action movies, I don't think, should be all that realistic. And in fact, this is a film from John McTiernan, who, prior to this, was best known for Commando, which is like a parody of action movies. Oh wait, fuck, I'm wrong. No, he didn't direct Commando, he directed Predator. But it was written by the same people who wrote Commando. And in fact, the script started off as like kind of a Commando sequel. Although one of the fun facts about this movie is it was based on a novel that Frank Sinatra owned the rights to, and so legally they had to offer the lead to Frank Sinatra, which this is like old ass Frank Sinatra. This was like 1 or 2 years before Frank Sinatra died. So Imagine just, like, elderly Frank Sinatra as John McClane. Obviously, Frank Sinatra's like, no, you can have the rights to the book. I will not be taking this role. And they're like, whew, thank God. And apparently they offered the lead to, like, a lot of different guys. Which is wild because, like, today, Die Hard is so synonymous with Bruce Willis. Like, this is a Bruce Willis movie. It's like his most iconic role. And he was, like, the last choice. He was the last person in line to be offered this movie. There's a lot of movies that imitate Die Hard. I like to call them the Die Hard but films. You know, Die Hard but on a plane. Die Hard but at a ski lodge. Die Hard but at a hockey game. Die Hard but in an even taller building. But there's so much stuff in this movie that those movies just don't have, right? The villains in this movie are so perfect, right? Like, there's a level of relatability to the villains, but at the same time, it's like that these guys are, like, smart, they're meticulous, and the fact that, like, when things go wrong for them, they're like actively trying to stop John, and they're so good at it that you're like actually scared for him. And you got John, and he's got all these, like, cool badass hero moments, but he's also, like, there's a lot of him getting hurt. He gets hurt a lot in this movie. And I think a lot of the Die Hard butt movies are afraid to have their badass hero get hurt too bad. And then, of course, there's just, like, the witty banter, the great dialogue. It's a really funny, really charming movie, and so many of its imitators were not. There is a reason nothing holds up to Die Hard. I will say, because this is the Die Hard 5 movie collection, I have all of them. I still have not seen 4 or 5. But people have told me, like, oh, the next best one is Die Hard with a Vengeance. People love Die Hard with a Vengeance. Me, personally, I always liked Die Hard 2 better. Like, I went into Die Hard 2 going, like, okay, this is probably gonna be, like, Die Hard, but not as good. And I was right. It was Die Hard, but not as good. But it's still really good. Like, Die Hard is just, like, on another level, so that if you do Die Hard but not quite as good, there's still a lot of room for you to be good. So I really enjoy Die Hard 2. And Die Hard with a Vengeance, I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I prefer Die Hard 2, and I think I'm very much in the minority with that one. But there it is. I prefer Die Hard 2. But, you know, none of them compare to Die Hard. I don't know if we'll ever watch the sequels. Maybe we'll watch Die Hard 2 next Christmas. I don't know what I'm doing next Christmas yet, but maybe we'll do Die Hard 2 next Christmas. No promises. I'm probably not going to recommend any of the other Die Hard movies, despite having all 5 of them. Yeah, Die Hard. If you haven't seen it, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Watch Die Hard. Like, there's so many, like, famous classic movies, and then just, like, I talk to people about them, and people just haven't seen them. And I'm like, how have you not... This is, like, one of the classic movies. How have you not seen this? But Die Hard is one of those rare movies that just, like, everyone I know has seen it. Everyone has seen Die Hard. So if you haven't seen Die Hard, please, holy shit, you're missing out. It's a great movie. Last time I asked you what your favorite non-traditional Christmas movie was, the only answer I got was Die Hard from John August. So, I mean, he admits Die Hard's the obvious answer, but you know what, man? Sometimes it's the obvious answer for a reason. Die Hard is a brilliant movie. So I neglected John Cleveland's comment where he left quite a few. I don't know how I did that. I'm pretty sure he posted this before I recorded the video. I think part of the problem is YouTube will only show me comments I haven't responded to sometimes, and I did respond to this comment, but here it is. The Hebrew Hammer, which is a Hanukkah movie more than it is a Christmas movie. Trading Places, which I admittedly have not seen. The Shining just takes place during winter. I'm not sure that counts as a Christmas movie. I'm sure Christmas passes at some point in that film, but to me, I always see like the ending taking place in like January or February. It's just, the couple off months during the winter. It's more of a winter movie than a Christmas movie. Black Christmas, one of the earliest slasher movies. I was never super into Black Christmas, but I get why people like it. It has a very important place in film history, for one thing. And it certainly has its charm. Oh, I totally skipped Die Hard, but we already talked about Die Hard. And he also has on here Die Hard 2, which my man John also likes Die Hard 2. I like it better than the third one. A Long Kiss Goodnight, which I totally failed to talk about in the video. One of my favorite non-traditional Christmas movies. Just an amazing film. I love Long Kiss Goodnight, so good call on that one, John. Batman Returns, Lethal Weapon, also Kronos, which is a Del Toro film? I want to say it's a Del Toro film. Kronos is cool. Kronos is... It's far from my favorite of his work, Guillermo del Toro's work, but no, it's a good film. It's one of his better ones. Gremlins, of course, I love, although we all know the sequel is better. And Invasion USA. I thought Invasion USA was incredibly boring, actually. Like, it shouldn't be, but it is. It's an hour and a half of, like, commies trying to blow shit up, and then Chuck Norris stops them. That's it. That's the whole movie. It's just that over and over and over and over again. I don't know. I found it really boring and repetitive. But conceptually, it sounds like it shouldn't be. But it is. Anyways, thank you for your comment, John Cleveland. You got some good picks in there. Thank you for reminding me of Long Kiss Goodnight. Now, me personally, I'm gonna say Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Brazil is a great non-traditional Christmas movie, although, it kind of barely is. It's set at Christmas, but it's not really about Christmas. Where Die Hard, I think, does incorporate a lot more Christmas stuff into it. Also, as you know, huge fan of Day of the Beast. I talked about that one pretty recently. So, yeah, those would probably be the big ones. Die Hard, Brazil, and Day of the Beast. Of course, I also love Silent Partner, which I just talked about. I also love Silent Night, Deadly Night, I talked about last year. Gremlins, fun movie, although, as we all know, Gremlins 2 is better. Yeah, I guess that wraps it up for the question portion of this episode. Obviously, there's gonna be no movie night tonight because it's Christmas, and also because of a little schedule fuckery. 2 weeks from today, there's going to be a Movies of 2021 video on this channel, and that will be the night that I do the next movie night. That'll be the night of the next movie night. But then on the 14th, I'm going to have another episode. So, I fucked up my schedule, so I'm doing two movie nights in a row, 1 week right after the other, which is atypical. So, the next episode will be out on the 14th, and starting after the 14th, it will then go back to every other week. So previously, I have asked, what is a movie you like that you always have to clarify is not some other movie? The example I gave being the 1995 film Kicking and Screaming, which I constantly have to clarify is not the Will Ferrell movie Kicking and Screaming. But tonight I want to ask, what are two movies with the same title where you like both of them? So we're starting the year off right with a nice little action triple feature. I don't talk about enough action movies on this show. I intend to, and then I just get completely wrapped up in showing horror movies. So we're going to try to watch more action movies moving forward. And tonight we got an action movie triple feature. It's Point Blank, a French film. I'm holding it sideways, and that's making the title straight. Point Blank, French movie, followed by the 1960s British movie Point Blank with Lee Marvin. And finally, we're going to end on the glorious John Cusack action comedy Gross Point Blank. It's like the other two Point Blanks, but grosser. So the video for those is going to be out on the 14th. Until then, have a nice day.